Will Smith sat down with Lecrae for an hour-long interview, talking about his new music, talking about his views on spirituality. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, but let me just say this. Props to Lecrae for nailing this interview. This is at one point, Will Smith was one of the most biggest actors in the world. Two, I don't think I could have been Lecrae, sat down with Will Smith and not talked about marriage. There's no way I could sit there and not talk about all this. And I don't think they talked about the open marriage, the we're together but not together, but we don't want to get divorced. Like, I don't think they talk about any of that. But I could be wrong. I couldn't have done that. But they did talk about other stuff. So shout out to our Patreon community. Sent us some timestamps on this. And let's jump into this.
There's this image I saw. This cool. It's like running around on the internet. And it's like a little girl holding a little bear. And it's like Jesus standing over her with the big bear behind his back. Yeah. But she can't see the big bear. Yep. So.
Okay, talking about Jesus. I'm impressed.
I like it. We're talking about Jesus. Will Smith and Jesus, which, interestingly enough, Will Smith used to be married to a woman who used to be married to a pastor in San Diego.
Close. Wow.
Isn't that just an interesting fact?
Yeah. It's a very interesting fact.
He wrote a song about her once.
Wow.
And it was like a song calling her a holy roller and like basically saying like she was too like religious and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Clinging to the little bear, not trusting that if you let go of the little bear, you'll get the big one.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. Yep.
And it's like, but you're not gonna get the big bear unless you let go of the little one. Right? And there's a certain trust of life, a trust of, universal reality, a trust of God or source, right? There's a trust of the truth that you just gotta let go of the little bear.
It's a good meme.
We were so close.
What's the issue?
A trust of the trust. You got to trust the trust, and you got to trust the source.
What? No.
2 minutes after mentioning Jesus, he's already talking about the source.
Hey, did he say the source?
He said source.
Did he say source? Okay.
He's 2 seconds away from saying universe.
Jesus is the source.
He's like, I pulled a tarot card this morning, and there was a tarot meme.
Yeah, it is interesting how sometimes New Age people definitely think they're more Christian than they are. But I want to let him flesh this out. Listen,
okay.
He did some stuff with Maverick. Maybe he's repented of some of the Scientology influence stuff. And
was he Scientology?
At one point, it was alleged that he was Scientology. I don't know if he was officially ever a member.
Truth is,
maybe
it
this
gets
stuff.
worse.
Maybe this stuff. Let's see. Truth said it gets worse. All right, let's see.
You gotta let go of the little you and trust that the big you will emerge.
Wait a second. Wait. The big you. No. You got to let go of the thing you're holding on to.
Yeah.
And get aligned with Jesus, not the big you. The Jesus. Pull the meme up, please. I think Lecrae. I think Will Smith completely missed the meme. The point of the meme. Wait a minute. Hold on, Will. We were making great progress. What just happened? Zoom in. It's about trusting Jesus. Will, what happened? Will, what happened?
Jesus wants to give you the big you, and you're the big teddy bear. This is you.
This isn't.
This man looked at the version without the text on it. He got the whiteout version. He's
just
like,
trust Jesus is the point of the meme.
Oh man, I can't.
All right,
let's keep going.
It's been a reality for you.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, okay,
absolutely.
I let go and I didn't fall. I didn't.
Yes, I didn't die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the trusting, and it's funny actually. I'm gonna take it back. I said I didn't die. I did die. Right. And I think that is the top human skill set, a willingness to die.
You get what I was saying, right? you get what I was saying, right?
Someone in the chat said he's been listening to Kamala Harris speeches. I'm done.
Yo, this is Kamala Harris.
Oh, don't do that. Hold on, man. Let's give Will. Come on. This is Will Smith, guys.
Lecrae's like, and you didn't die. He's like, yeah, that's right. No, I take it back. I did die, and that's one of the biggest human things is that you got to learn how to die.
All right, hold on, man. Hold on. Chat, hold on. Let's let Will cook. All right, and let's see. Maybe Lecrae's going. Chill. Go ahead.
A willingness to let go.
Let go. Yeah.
That thing's not serving you anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Let it go.
Yeah.
That relationship's not serving you.
Stop.
I'm getting blessed by this.
Stop.
The job's not serving you. that circumstance is not serving you. A willingness to feel what it feels like to die the death of the loss of that thing. Trusting yourself and God to create the new thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's using Christian language because what is baptism symbolic of?
Death to life.
You die with Jesus. This is, I think this is Romans. You die with Jesus, and then you rise.
Yeah.
When you come out of it's what's happening in baptism.
Yep.
I think the part that I'm not tracking with is like, are you rising with Jesus? And how are you defining Jesus? Because if Jesus is defined as your higher self or as the consciousness of the universe and the universe is one, that's a false Jesus. If you're defining rising and you're rising with Jesus, you're dying to yourself, what Jesus said to do, and then the baptism is reflecting that, and you're rising, well then he's right. We do have to die to rise. It sounds like he's talking, I don't know, it doesn't sound like he's saying that though.
Will Smith is doing the podcast version of what Sway in the Morning does whenever a Christian rapper comes on his thing. He's like, and Sway does the whole like, oh, he's gonna bless us with some bars today, and so he's like tries to weave in like Christian language and clean it all up. So he's like, you got to trust in you and trust in God, you know, like he's just talking about the same things he always talks about, but he's like, oh, but I'm with the Christian guy, Lecrae, so I gotta Christian it up.
But he's had a Christian background before. He's talked about this stuff.
That's
before.
why he's being a chameleon.
Maybe he's a chameleon. That's fair. Maybe he's a chameleon. Let's see.
No,
That's you're like, for me, you're like the closest picture to a person embodying the ancient Jewish text of Ecclesiastes. A person who's like, I've experienced it all.
Yep.
I've seen it all. I've done it all.
That's okay. First of all, as an interviewer, that was very sharp.
Bring it back. Bringing
it back to scripture.
Come on.
Not in a way that disparages what he just said, because what he said was a little wonky. And so Lecrae's not disparaging what he's saying.
Come on.
He's actually bringing it back to scripture. And he's saying, and he's right. That's actually that's a great compliment to him. Who's experienced more of this life's ability to gratify your flesh than Will Smith?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think Will Smith has come to the same conclusions.
I don't know.
Solomon has.
I think you're right. I don't think, well, you can come to the same conclusions without having Jesus.
I don't think he's come to the same conclusions even without Jesus.
Oh, really? So you don't think like life is meaningless, vanity?
No.
Okay.
I think he's like life. I've found more purpose in letting go of relationships, and I think he plays the purpose.
Maybe.
game out.
Maybe. Let's see.
Yeah.
And it didn't really do what I thought it was gonna do. It didn't define me the way that I thought it would. And so I'm gonna just tell you this. And I think that takes a lot of courage because,
well, first of all, people don't want to hear it. So you know how most people end up, they try to talk about that.
Yeah,
right. So, and it's like, it is such a rare gift to reach the end of the material world.
Elaborate.
Right.
Talk about that.
To reach the end of money.
Yeah, this is very much Ecclesiastes. This is what I'm saying. He can be right without having the source, without having the right Jesus. He can be right that like he's experienced everything, and you experience so much money and so much hedonism and so much success that you come to the end of it and you're like, there's nothing else here. And then you start searching outward. You know what I mean? Because some of us have to fall on our back to look up. Others get elevated to such a delusional degree of success that we can't even comprehend, that they just feel empty inside at the end of it all. You know, so you're trying to fill it with something. Unfortunately, it sounds like he might be trying to fill it with new agey stuff, but I'm hoping he comes back around to Jesus. If he isn't already in that process.
But to get to the point where you can buy anything you want, right? And you sit in your house and there's nothing else to buy. Whereas buying things used to like scratch an itch.
Yeah.
And now there's nothing else to buy, right? To hit the end of the material world, right? You know, to have had all the sex that you want to have. And
I read the book.
Yeah, and it's like,
you did a lot of things.
yeah, you get to the end of that, right? How many more #1 movies do I need? How many more Grammys do I need, right? And it is such a rare gift to get to the end of the material world.
Well, or here's the punchline. You got to the end of the material world and found that there's nothing there. And so what great wisdom to tell everyone else that there's nothing there, right? Chasing material success for the sake of material things ultimately will leave you empty, right? And so perhaps this can help, in my opinion, reorient the person that's a Christian or maybe not a Christian, to say, I don't need to chase vanity for the sake of vanity. I don't need to chase material success for the sake of material success. I can acknowledge, based on what everyone else will, because what's his name? Jim Carrey said the same thing. I want everyone to be rich and famous for one day so that you can discover that there's, you know, whatever the conclusion of that quote is. I'm butchering it, right? I think that's fire. I think that's fire. I think, because then, listen, if people understand this, this is the flip side of it. We're then not chasing finances and success. We're chasing, how can we help the most amount of people? So if you're then chasing, how can I make the most of my time, talent, and treasure to help the most amount of people, right? As a Christian, it's because Jesus has saved me, done everything for me, sanctified me, right? And therefore, I want to help and I want to make the world a better place, right? If that's our paradigm, that's a beautiful thing, because then you anchor yourself away from, well, I just need to make more money. It's like, no, you need to make more impact, and money sometimes, usually, is the byproduct of more impact, right? Versus like, I want to be rich and I want to be a TikTok star. For what? Because I want to be a TikTok star. Why? Because I want to be a TikTok star. Like but that's where the culture is, right? So there's no one that's gotten higher than a Will Smith. There's no one that's achieved more than a Will Smith in terms of the vanity metrics. And he's saying there's nothing here. I think there's a great utility that this serves for people.
A place where only God is left. Right? And it's like, it's interesting. I think we may have talked about this before. Yeah, we talked about this before, where people usually do that when they hit rock bottom.
Right. I just said this. Because listen, I'll be fully honest with you. If I'm listening to Will Smith and I'm watching his life, I think there are a lot of things that are incongruent with a Christian worldview in his life.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to drag on this man right now, but we all know what I'm talking about. However, I've heard at least one other person who is a Christian say that they've had some really wonderful conversations with Will Smith about Jesus specifically. So I'm saying, I don't know. Let's let him define his terms before we just dismiss him, because you don't know where someone is in their process. Because there are, in a lot of ways, he has hit rock bottom.
Because you brought that up.
Yeah.
There are, we live in an era now where people are, at least in person, trying to be very tolerant of one another.
Yeah.
Online is a different story.
Yeah, for sure.
Online is a different story. Yeah. Your journey has been interesting, right? From childhood to today.
Yeah.
And there are spiritual undertones in there.
Yeah.
You know, you were raised in the church, but at the same time, you've been out in different areas of the world where you've seen like, whoa, I never had this. Oh, I'm enlightened to this culture and these particular things. You weren't afraid of intolerance by referencing your church roots.
Right.
Because some people would say, whoa, man, I don't want that. Why was there no fear there? You know,
so my personal belief is, I was raised, with an Old Testament grandmother. Right. So Gigi, yeah.
Pause it.
So
I wonder what he means by Old Testament. Is he going to unpack this for us? What does he mean by Old Testament grandmother?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think Old Testament, I think Jewish stuff.
He had a Jewish grandma.
I don't think that's what he means, though.
He's a Jew with the dun-dun-dun-dun.
What the Jews.
Oh, my way and my deepest understanding is biblical. But I've read the Quran from cover to cover. Yeah. During Ramadan 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I read the Bhagavad Gita from cover to cover. I read the teachings of the Buddha. So, if I had to say what my religion is, I would take the Muhammad Ali quote, and my religion is love. Right? I believe in the oneness and the possibility of harmony between people who are all reaching for the one truth. Yeah. There's a line in the same way.
All right. I think this could have served a follow-up question.
Well, there might be a follow-up. We don't know.
Yeah, I think this could have served a follow-up question. What does that mean? What one truth? Right? Because people can seek truth and be wrong. Yeah. People can seek truth and be wrong. People can be sincere and be wrong. So just because the scriptures say that God is love, that does not mean that love is God. Just because the scriptures say, you'll have peace and joy, that doesn't mean that peace and joy are God. Yep. And so that's the part where I think there's a disconnect. It's like you start saying love and harmony and peace is God, No. Those are the byproducts of an encounter with the true and living God.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about, it says, we're just a room full of sinners reaching for the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
And I just love that line, because everybody wants to hold on to some kind of comparative superiority.
For sure.
And what has been beautiful for me in the past couple of years is the loss of my illusion of moral superiority.
Like you're better than everyone else.
Being humbled into the place that I'm not better than.
I don't think people understand. Will Smith was like the role model. He was the media darling. Like he didn't cuss in his music. He was in a marriage, monogamous, not talking about violence, to the point where, like Eminem dissed him in a song. Like this is the early 2000s, and he was still like scorching hot. And now, post Chris Rock situation, post Jada Red Table Talk situation, post, what do they call it? I got into an entanglement situation.
Yeah.
He's no longer morally, he's fell flat because all that stuff is incoherent.
Yeah.
And so this is good for him, like to come to the conclusion that you're not morally superior. You're not the role model. You know what I mean? Go ahead. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so beautiful. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's brutal and beautiful.
Okay.
Right.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
That's actually very intriguing. Because if you got ears to hear, you know what's being said. And what I hear you saying is that up until a while back, you probably thought you were made out of Teflon.
Yeah, I certainly always joke with my family, and they don't think it's funny. I was like, I'm King David. I'm God's man. God likes me, y'all. Just admit it. No, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You've been humanized in a lot of ways.
And settled down into the only place you can really meet somebody and have authentic compassion.
Yep.
Is when you recognize the sameness.
I understand of perhaps sitting down with someone and being uncomfortable or unsure to bring up Jesus and to bring up the gospel. That's understandable, right? Lecrae treaded lightly.
Because they're a part of a psychological, emotional, and spiritual pattern that we all go through in our version.
Yeah.
The story of Christ, the death and the resurrection.
Right.
That's the literal telling of the figurative thing that needs to happen to us. Right? So you die to your previous self in order to be reborn as your higher self.
So hold on. But that was very much an affirmation of the literal resurrection. Or am I reaching? Chat, am I reaching?
Super reach.
You think I'm reaching?
Yeah.
I think someone could affirm the literal resurrection and not be all the way there on Christianity.
That's dark.
I think there's a lot of people that will say,
if you're sure on the resurrection and you're not all the way there on Christianity, you're in a dark spot. I'll tell you that. But I'm saying Will Smith is definitely in a dark spot.
Yeah, I don't know. The literal telling of the figurative thing. I mean, I'm not trying to reach. That's verbatim Jordan Peterson language.
You're too charitable. That's the problem.
Maybe I am.
Because now you're putting Will Smith and Jordan Peterson in the same boat.
No.
The doctor?
Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying.
Dr. Peterson? My doctor?
Your doctor is your person.
My doctor!
Well, Lecrae does run a record label called Reach Records. So I might be right aligned in this situation. All right. So this is what I'm saying. I think Jordan Peterson is way further along. But we have friends, John McCrae, Wes Huff, that would all say when you listen to Jordan Peterson, he is not there yet.
John McCrae would say that.
John McCrae would say that. Wes Huff has said that publicly on Joe Rogan. So I'm not reaching by saying there are people who don't know if Jordan Peterson is all the way there. I think Tammy's there. I think Tammy's all the way there. His wife is there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? He's been coming to church. But when I'm saying all the way there, I'm talking public baptism.
Maybe that's what
I'm talking.
Will Smith is
taking
missing.
Communion.
Will Smith is missing a solid woman.
Okay, hold on a second. So there's people in the chat that are saying they think Jordan's in the dark spot. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying I don't think that's a reach. I don't think that's a reach. I think he's not as connected to all this stuff.
Right. So you die to your previous self in order to be reborn as your higher self.
That man preaching. I'm about to get a
So more than coming back and saying I'm authentic and I don't need your approval, Joseph Campbell called it return with the elixir.
Ooh.
You return with the secret.
That's good.
And then now it's a whole new journey of how do I share this secret?
Which in many ways is fun and inspiring.
Yes,
and it's
absolutely.
exciting.
Okay, all right. He lost me. He lost me. I was with him, and then he started talking about elixirs and secrets. This sounds a lot like Gnosticism. This sounds very new agey. But again, maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes people hold these sorts of things close to their chest. Right? Sometimes people hold these sorts of things close to their chest. So maybe I'm wrong.
We could sell Ruslan
and by the way,
Kamala Harris if she went to Reach Record Studios. Goodness gracious.
That's funny.
Sounds like Josh having a deal with B-side right now.
Chill. Jordan Peterson explicitly said he's a Christian. I bet you if you cornered Will Smith, he'll say he's a Christian. I think if you cornered Will Smith, he would say he's a Christian. You don't think so?
I think him actually saying he's a Christian is less believable than Jordan Peterson never saying he's a Christian, but his actions showing that he is.
Sure. But again, there is a worldview aspect to it. There is a worldview aspect in terms of placing your faith in the resurrection and then the practical side. So what I'm saying is we can pontificate about where Jordan Peterson and Will Smith is with the Lord personally.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's practical things that need to be evidence to classify someone as a Christian. You understand?
Yeah, 100%.
Baptism and communion. If there's no baptism, there's no communion.
Yeah.
Then what are we really talking about? Now, maybe I'm wrong and Jordan Peterson got baptized already.
My baptism isn't posted on Instagram.
That's not what I meant. What I'm saying is, as far as the public knows, these guys have been, Jordan Peterson has not been living as a Christian his entire journey. And so maybe he was baptized as a kid and maybe I'm wrong about this. Right? But if he's been living as an atheist and then becomes a Christian, baptism should follow. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And so the same thing in Will Smith's situation. Maybe he got baptized as a kid. Now he's a Christian, and there should be a clarity on his worldview. That's I'm agreeing with you. But what I'm saying is you can argue either way, and I'm not even saying I'm agreeing with said argument. I'm trying to steel man the position.
Yeah, I know.
Wes Huff and what do you mean who aren't like they're smart guys. What do you mean read his book? Like read We Who Wrestle with God. Okay. And he's like, nah, he's not there yet. He's not there yet.
Sold me on the book.
Right? So I don't know. And all I'm saying is people might hold certain things to the chest. And in Jordan Peterson's position, by the way, for the record, he might be holding some of that to the chest. You know what I mean? And Lecrae, in this conversation, he might be holding. Maybe Will Smith isn't ready to come out and fully like embrace these things because he's still detangling his new age thought. Russell Brand went through a transition where he was like kind of still new agey, but now really into Jesus, and he was kind of, you know, that there was a really messy window of time where he was talking about Christ consciousness all the time. Like right before he fully came out and got baptized, there was a messy window for him. So I don't know. I don't want to discount and diminish this dude's faith. And you also have to factor in like the Jada aspect, like that's still his wife who knows what they're dealing with, and so that's a big thing that he's probably still wrestling with.
Then you go see Mike Signorelli.
Look up the transcript and see if she ever comes up. I'm curious.
Definitely not.
Clarity comes with discipleship, and that's right. It still is a choice. Maybe I'm being too charitable. It definitely sounds like Christ consciousness for sure. And I hope he finds the truth. I hope he finds the truth. I hope he finds the truth. I hope he figures out his marriage. I hope these things get sorted out. I'm not stamping him as a Christian. I'm not stamping him as any of those things. I'm just saying that we would look the other way if similar statements are made by people we admire, but because he's really taken some L's, we're not as charitable, and I don't think that's fair. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.